prior to this announcement, because we had signaled it in the budget,
right.
There was some expectations of, but they really didn't know exactly how it was going to be like. So there was some, yes, agitations and yes. But after the announcement and with the ongoing details that is being given to these fund managers, asset managers, and these financial institutions, I believe that it should clear any anxiety or any ambiguity in the way this is going to be handled. It was stated clearly that treasury bill holders and individual bond holders will not be affected in this restructuring or debt exchange. And so with this information in mind, and with the regulatory bodies also assisting to make sure that all the financial institutions do the right thing or what is expected of them, I believe that it will bring some calm to the markets. And that is what we are looking for, and that is why we are asking for support from all of us.
So after the finance minister, at least launches this program today, is it going to make mute of what the SEC said about using market value? What exactly is going to happen?
No, what is going to happen is that all the regulatory bodies, SEC, NPRA, NIC, and Bank of Ghana, are also going to come up with tools that they believe will mitigate the impact of this debt exchange that has been announced. And they will work with, the regulatory bodies will work with the various financial institutions to make sure that exactly what is stated in here is done. and like I said, it's voluntary, and we are encouraging all of us to come on board to make sure that we stabilize the economy. As for the politics, we can do it later. But it's a plea to all of us that this is where we are. Prior to 2017, our debt to GDP ratio was around 76%. Inflation was around 15.4%. Without any crisis, without any COVID, we owed NHI was owed about 2 billion in arrears. So it is not. We are not here to talk about these things. We are here to make sure that how best can we stabilize the economy as a result of this twin pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russian-Ukraine war, that has resulted in a whole lot of global crisis as well as domestic crisis. And so how can we, and the government says, this is my blueprint, this is my plan. I am coming up with a 7-pointer agenda that has been put in the budget, that I believe that with the support of my sister here and all the other parties, including yourself, we should be able to implement this to stabilize the economy. And you saw the minister read the post-COVID program for economic growth. That's the PCPEG. We said aggressively we want to mobilize domestic revenue. We also want to streamline and rationalize expenditures, which you saw in the budget. We also want to boost local productive capacity, because some of our problems is as a result of low productivity. So then how can we do that? The government says, I'm trying very hard to improve upon our value addition and getting more factories, assisting our youth in the Youth Start program to make sure that those who are on their own and doing something, they can get some funding as well as build their capacity to also help in the whole issue of productivity and employment as well. And government says they are also going to provide and promote and diversify our exports. We are going to protect the poor and the vulnerable. And we also use digitalization to expand the economy. And above all, implement structural and public reforms. Because we all know that beyond the IMF, we have a structural reforms issue. And it's the way our economy is built. And the way our economy is, the structure of our economy. So beyond all that we want to do, government wants to look ahead, go ahead with some structural reforms that we believe will help us, so that should anything like this happen again in the future, we will be able to stand. Because every country in this world has been hit, but because of the nature of certain economies, they have been able to withstand the shocks. We also saw what happened in Britain not too long ago. Some have been able to withstand the shocks better than others. But that is why we also want to build these buffers and reforms and make sure that moving into the future, we are able to withstand some of these things. And so, my sister, let's look ahead. Let's see how best we can encourage everybody to get onto this voluntary debt restructuring. And because at the end of the day, whatever it is, we all live in this country. My sister lives in this country, and whatever goes on affects all of us. So today we are in this as a result of the crisis we find ourselves in. Come on board and let's see how best we can support each other to make to bring about the stability that we are all looking for, and also to prop up the economy.
So the 7-point agenda that government wanted to put in place, boost local productive capacity. So I've put on the screen the maize prices indices, and that is from, let me watch it on my phone, I can see it better here. So it's from 2016, December 2016 to 24th October, no, 22nd November 2022. 22nd November 2022. So this is the Mavis analytics. So in December 2016, maize was costing 170 Ghana cedis a bag, and 2017 it was, that's the same month, December, 190. 2018 280. 2019 December it was 350. 2020 December a bag was costing 420, and then 2021 December 450. 25th October 2022, sorry, 25th August 2022, okay. It cost us 710. Okay. And then 10th October 2022 is costing 720. 24th October 2022, it cost 720. That is a little stable, maybe even stable with 25th of October, August. So, and then 22nd of November, by the time she checked, it was 735. This is for maize production. And our import, we can juxtapose it to the imports. 7,909,000 US dollars in 2020. That was our maize importation into the country. I actually bought a bottle of oil, red oil, in this same bottle last week. They told me it was 20 cedis for this bottle. 20 cedis. I screamed and asked the woman why so, and she said the gallon of red oil, and I'm not talking about vegetable oil. Yes, this is palm oil, red oil. She said that a gallon is costing 800 Ghana cedis. That's 8 million, if you may. 8 million, which is even more expensive than fried oil, maybe, or vegetable oil. So our production, I don't know, red oil, we produce it here. So we really need some, help within the production sector, especially the agri sector.
Yes. And that is something that government is tackling. But let me also admit here that some studies have been done by UG and other researchers, and it has been established that in the whole of the West African sub-region, there's hunger. And so some of our neighbors are coming over to our country to purchase some of the produce, yes, that we produce here. Like really? Maize, yes. It's been established that across, there's some level of hunger. I mean, there's food crisis around West Africa. And so some come into
but that
our
should
country.
Be to our benefit.
That's what I'm saying. So it makes, because if quite a number is going out and then you have a little, or you don't have that much, and more hands want to buy it, it's a matter of demand and supply. So that if the supply is limited and you have more demand, the highest bidder sort of gets it. This has also contributed to
inflation.
the price increase in our food produce, as well as our fuel prices, the increase in fuel prices. The global pandemic has resulted in increases in fertilizer, and these farmers also buy fertilizer. They buy other inputs to feed on the farms to make sure they come out with the necessary or the quantum of maize or rice or whatever that they need to also sell. And so they factor in all these costs. And that is why government is saying that this time we are going to focus on value and help our farmers and also value addition to make sure that about 45% of the items that we import, we are able to produce here. Okay. So that if we produce things like fertilizer here, if we produce certain things that they need as farm inputs, then clearly their costs will come down.
Your boss is on.
And they will not factor that.
Okay, your boss is on. Let's cross over.
But
I'll come to you, Joyce. I'm sorry. Let's just cross over to Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. He started the address. Take a listen to.
Support growth. Consistent with all the above, I announced during the budget statement presented to Parliament on November 24th that government will undertake a debt operation program. We presented to you the contours of the domestic debt exchange program yesterday. As you are aware, we established a consultative committee to work with the financial sector and incorporated their advice in our decisions. Today, we are here to officially launch Ghana's domestic debt exchange program. The objective of this program is to alleviate the debt burden in a most transparent, efficient, and expedited manner. In this context, by means of an exchange offer. The government of Ghana has been working hard to minimize the impact of the domestic debt exchange on investors holding government bonds. In particular, it does not embed any principal haircut on eligible bonds as we promise. Let me repeat this fact as plainly as I can. In this debt exchange, individuals holding domestic bonds will not lose, are not affected by the value of their investment will be retained. So let us remove any doubt and discard any speculation that the government is about to cut your retirement savings or the notional value of your investment. This is not the case. As already announced, Treasury bills are completely exempted and all holders will be paid the full value of their investment on maturity. There will be no haircut on the principal of bonds. Individuals who hold bonds would also not be affected at all.
Initially when I started, I said that this is a very difficult situation in which we find ourselves in. We have engaged many stakeholders. And
who are in the stakeholders?
The regulatory bodies, parties,
so
as well as the financial institutions.
So
those who invest on behalf of investors.
Take part in these.
Yes, we have negotiated. We have held some level of engagement with investors. But this is where we find ourselves.
Are we sure we've had engagement with investors?
This is where we find ourselves, and we are asking that in 2023, you see. Currently, where we find ourselves, one, we have balance of payment problems, and we believe that we need to go to the IMF to help us raise some monies to solve that. And as part of the IMF measures, you need a debt sustainability analysis, bringing your debt levels to a sustainable level. And so we need to engage in the debt operations. Without the debt operations, we cannot get the IMF support that we need. And so we signaled this about 3-4 months ago when we decided to go to the IMF. And that is why we are saying it is voluntary, but we are encouraging all Ghanaians and to help us, to help governments in this situation. Because honestly, these monies that were borrowed were some of the monies that were used to fund the budget, were used to fund the the infrastructure that we see around, where it was used to support governments in the agenda that brought government to the tune where we saw an average of 7% of GDP growth from 2017 to 2019, where we had built a robust economy and the economy was doing very well. Now we're saying that this is where we are. Our debt levels have gone up, and they have gone up not because of anything, but one, because of the huge amounts we had to borrow to save lives and livelihoods during the COVID-19 pandemic. And then the second wave that also came, we also saw government rushing quickly to address that before many lives were lost. And then thirdly, we never anticipated this Russian-Ukraine war that sort of reduced our buffers in a way, and that's with all the near majority in Parliament that affected the passage of the 2022 budget, and that also resulted in us having some downgrades, which has resulted in us not being able to even go to the international capital markets. So it's a whole lot of issues that have come together as one, and I must say that it is the support that we need from the people of Ghana at this moment.
So if investors today come and say we do not agree to this agreement, to this program,
that is why we are saying it is voluntary, but we are encouraging people, we are encouraging investors to come on board. We cannot,
you know, from the from government side analysis, you can tell that in the economy there should be some predictions of shocks. Every economy must be able to do that. It looks like most economies fail in doing that, and Ghana is one of example. We failed in doing that, and that is why we're where we are.
Measured the extent of the Russian-Ukraine war.
You say that our buffers, it even affected our buffers.
Yes.
I'm wondering in which area of our buffers was affected by the Russia and Ukraine war. Which one?
We don't even have. It is not just buffer in terms of food that I'm talking about.
Yes, but what buffer
in terms of our financing? Because this resulted in BOG having to give a lot of its foreign exchange to OMCs to bring in fuel. And that is the buffer that BOG had in its reserves. They had to give it up to enable us get fuel to run and for things to move in this country. That is the buffer I'm talking about. So a whole lot of things had to give.
In which area
to
buffer
enable,
again
a whole lot of things had to give to enable, government be where it is today. We had to give a buffer of close to about 500 million for the 15% COLA that we gave to workers. That is also substantial. So there are quite a number of buffers that government had to give to enable the economy run through 2022. And so in 2023, government is saying that if you can also support me in this regard by accepting this voluntary debt exchange that I'm bringing on board, this will go a long way to reduce our payment of interest rates, and it will help.
What if I disagree?
It's voluntary. So if you disagree, government will have to come up. But if you will disagree, the meaning that
because remember that we went through
disagree war, and we are not able to go through this, it is a requirement for the IMF program as well. And so then we are saying that the
IMF
won't come on. But I remember in 2015, everything that the President Mahama's government had to do to make sure they sign on to the IMF, they did. And so we are pleading with you to support us in that same regard that you supported President Mahama in 2015 to make sure they got an IMF program. That is how we are also asking that support us in this regard. Because it is an IMF program that we are going for. And as part of the IMF program, we need to make sure we work on our debt operations to bring our debt to a sustainable level. Otherwise, we cannot go on this program. We did it in 2015 for NDC. Right. And so we are pleading with you that if you were able to do it for NDC to make sure that the economy stabilized at that time, this is the same Ghana. This is the same country. We are the same people. We are pleading with you that you have done it before. Different. Thank you. The conditions are different because we never saw COVID-19 before 2016. We never saw this huge economic crisis as a result of the Russian-Ukraine war in 2016. So that is the more reason why we are pleading with Ghanaians that if you were able to support President Mahama in 2015 to make sure President Mahama got onto the IMF program, that brought about some stability in the economy. It is in this same vein. It is in this same vein that we are pleading with you to also support us to make sure we get the IMF program by helping us get through with the debt exchange program. Once we are through with that, then all the indices that were set up to enable us to get onto the IMF program will be very clear, and then we will be able to get in there. We can have some of our 1.4 billion coming immediately and also helping us stabilize our economy in many ways.
Joyce,
this will also, like I say, open up for other bilateral partners to also come in and then support us. My sister, it's a fair plea to you and the previous government.
Right.
That if we did everything possible to make sure Ghana signed onto an IMF program in 2015, it is in this same vein that we are pleading with you that let it happen in 2022, as we are in a situation where we find ourselves now that we need their support to enable the economy stabilize.